This Stoic idea I'm going to present to you today will not only make you unstoppable, but it will also help you take control of your emotions. Aren't you tired of being carried away like a puppet, going wherever your feelings take you? How many times have you told yourself, "I wish I hadn't done that"? The Stoics taught that a real man is the one who knows when and how to go against his animal nature to avoid shameful actions. To explain that, we'll use a powerful lesson from one of the most respected philosophers of all time, Epictetus. Epictetus summarized this lesson in a simple but powerful two-step formula that every one of you can use to conquer his desires, avoid next-day regrets, and stop falling victim to destructive habits. Let's say there is a hot blonde making eye contact with you at the bar, but you are in a relationship. Do you go all in and spend an awesome night with her? Or do you take a step back and defeat the desire with your Stoic values, saving your relationship? Keep that question in mind, and we'll come back at it later. During Epictetus's time, men used to also chase women, want money badly, crave fame, gamble, and indulge in feasts without end, exactly as we do today. We're naturally evolved to approach what feels good and avoid what feels bad. The problem is that these activities only feel good temporarily, and soon we find ourselves regretting what we did. As Ryan Holiday put it, what if this moment of pleasure is a period of pain in disguise? Is there a solution? There is, but before we get to it, have you noticed any of these patterns in your life? A driver cuts you off and you start yelling at him, sacrificing your inner peace for an asshole. Grandma serves you cookies and you eat them without second thought, neglecting the plan to achieve Chris Bumstead's physique. Our girlfriend calls us to say she's horny at home watching Netflix, so we abandon our business plans and run like a slave to her. It's not that the Stoics didn't indulge in pleasure, it's that they did it carefully while being fully aware of their actions. What's the problem with going wherever our feelings take us, you might ask? Well, if we only approach what feels good, we end up wasting our lives binge-watching Netflix, binge-eating M&Ms, binge-drinking whiskey, and being stuck to an ex who has now moved on and doesn't give a fuck about us. Wow, what an awesome life that would be. As aspiring Stoics, we want to follow our Father's footsteps and stay at the steering wheel at all times so we can deliberately choose our best actions. But that is the second step of the process. What about the first one? Step number 1, put your impressions to the test. Remember that pretty blonde at the bar we mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, you might want to grab her and go back to your room, but think how you'll feel the next day when the sun rises and the night cannot longer hold your sins. Seneca wrote. Epictetus had a perfect quote about this. Whenever you get an impression of some pleasure, as with any impression, guard yourself from being carried away by it. Let it await your action. Give yourself a pause. After that, bring to mind both times, first when you have enjoyed the pleasure, and later when you will regret it and hate yourself. Then compare to those the joy and satisfaction you'll feel from abstaining it altogether. This first step of the process is about analyzing what you are about to do and where it will lead you. Here are 3 great questions to ask yourself when you find yourself in a situation where you're really trying hard to resist a temptation. Do I really want to go down that path? Why do I feel such a strong urge within me? What do I actually know about this person? For example, let's say you see a beautiful girl outside. What do you know about her? Only that she's beautiful. Absolutely nothing else. You don't know whether she's a bitch or whether she will cause you pain or not. Can you imagine what an advantage you possess if, when everyone around you becomes puppets of anything delicious that appears in front of them, you are able to resist and take a pause before responding? But the real win comes when you learn when and how to say no. Step number 2. Learn to say no or risk ruin. Marcus Aurelius had everything he wanted: money, slaves, mistresses, sadistic games at the Colosseum, and fame. Yet he viewed these as things only fools would really enjoy. He knew that the big things in life were to be found elsewhere. There's a hilarious story about a Greek philosopher, Demosthenes, and a prostitute that it's worth remembering. The most famous prostitute in ancient Greece said to Demosthenes that if he wanted to sleep with her, he'd have to pay 10,000 coins. Demosthenes laughed and said, "There's no way I'm going to give that much money just to buy a regret." Have you understood what we are trying to do here? It's not that we discourage indulging in pleasure, it's that we encourage indulging in it after you've carefully analyzed it and are aware of the consequences. There's a difference. If we just gain time and wait before we react, then we'll be able to resist our impulses to react instinctively and immediately. I know that indulging is easier than resisting, but will you actually accomplish anything important if you become a slave of your body? Pay attention to the next seconds, because after hearing these words, you'll never be the same again. A common phenomenon among modern young men is the following. They believe that they'll regret it if they don't sleep with dozens and dozens of women. Are you kidding me? So you're saying that during those final hours, this is what you're going to regret? Do you want to know what real regret is? Real regret is when your friend asks for help but you are too coward to help. Real regret is when you want to make a career change but are afraid to do so. Real regret is when you lose your temper and accidentally kill someone. Real regret is when you never spent enough time with your parents and now they're dead. Real regret is when you realize you wasted your whole life chasing someone else's dream. Real regret is when you realize you could have been more. These are real regrets. At all times, keep Hercules' story in your mind. Hercules stood up in front of two crossroads. On the left, an alluring woman named Vice tried to seduce him, offering him a life of comfort and pleasure. On the right stood Virtue, a pretty but also moderate woman, who promised him not a life of pleasure but a life of meaningful accomplishments, filled with purpose and challenges that would help him become equal to the gods. What do you think Hercules would have become if he had chosen the easy way instead of the right way? Epictetus used to ask his students to motivate them. Do you think there would still be a story of Hercules? Hercules chose virtue, and the rest is history. I have to warn you. When you begin using Epictetus's powerful two-step formula, you'll notice one thing. You will gain mastery and complete control over your emotions. Marcus Aurelius used the same advice from Epictetus when he became Roman emperor and had to say no to money, absolute power, corruption, and prostitutes. To learn how he mastered his emotions and became the most powerful man alive, click this video next.